Hi there, my name's Chris Jones and we're at Infosec 2015. What we want to do today is go through an example of data theft using the WebSense Triton infrastructure. So from here you can see everything is all set up. We have the web, the data and the email all linked together in a single interface. We're of course going to be focusing really on the data side of things. And a good place to start is the data itself. What are we looking for? Now there's three types of content that you might want to consider. Perhaps it's a very high level part, like an attribute of some variety or a predefined compliance template. And we've got over 1900 built into our solution, so they're very easy to select. Fingerprinting is where it's much more specific to you as a customer. This might be a database fingerprint where we're scanning through Salesforce or your customer or employee records. Or it could be an actual file fingerprint whereby we look at software code perhaps, or legal documents, or anything that really you can think of. The final one we have here is machine learning. Now this is a much more contextual view of what we're doing. It's still leaning on the fingerprint solutions, but it's looking at it from a higher broad and really taking out some of the metadata that could change. So now we understand the types of data that we're looking for, we want to have a look at some of these as a policy. So we created a few demo policies in here just to give you a few examples. But one I want to focus on to start with is disgruntled employee, because this is quite useful in that it's very predictive. It doesn't require you to supply any data, it's about looking for what could be interesting. And by the way, when we select through into here, you're able to see the specifics of what that policy is going to do, the actions it's got, without actually needing to delve direct into the policy. So we've got a policy in place, we've got a number of them there, but we want to see what this is actually doing. So from a reporting side of things, we've got one of the incident view panes. So what we want to do now is look at the actual incidents themselves that have been created from this policy. And we can see that our user here, misbehaving, has created a number of incidents, actually triggering against two different policies. The first of which, they've sent a copy of their CV to themselves, so that's triggered against the resume for HR policy. We can see a copy of their CV has been quarantined here, that's highlighted to show us what we're looking for. We've also got the disgruntled employee policy, which we just looked at a moment ago, that's been triggered. We can see the person is posting on Facebook, it's an SSL post, so we've done all that decryption. And we can actually see within the HTML of that we've marked out what they've been posting online. And unfortunately, they're saying, "I hate my boss." Hopefully my manager's not listening to this. But it allows us to start to understand that this person is a flight risk from the organization and probably might try and steal some data. So it's a good pointer. This particular user is responsible for the customer data in this organization. So what we want to do is monitor that. We've created a fingerprint of that particular customer data, so we now know what that data is. We can see the schedule that that's set up to run for, when it was last fingerprinted, all of the information. Having got that data there so we know what it actually is, we want to insert this into a policy. There's a lot of things you can do within a policy. We're going to create a nice broad overview so you can see all the capabilities. We're going to start off by putting in the simple parts, the name of the policy, the description of the policy, and what administrators and owners are associated with that, and of course then what administrative rights they may have. Again, we're keeping it high level so we can do everything. In the conditions section, we're able to define what we're looking for. Now, of course, we're looking for customer data here, but we could add in multiple fields. We're also able, within our fingerprinted field, as it's a database, to select which columns we find appropriate here. So we've now defined what data we're looking for within this policy. We now want to decide what happens when we see that. And this is where things actually get very interesting, the severity in the action section. The way we have it set up at the moment is we're creating an incident every time we see any customer record going out. Now that's fine in some situations, but of course it could very easily be that this person needs to send out individual customer records as part of their job. So we don't want to interrupt their actual day job to do this. But we also don't want it to be that they can drip information out slowly in small amounts. So we're going to actually start to accumulate the matches, and we're going to do this just over a 24-hour period, so that the first and the second incident, bit of customer data is fine. More than that, or big chunks, that's when we have a problem. So a single customer record, it's a low-level incident, and we're going to audit it only. And of course this just means the data is there if you want to refer back to it for reference. At the second customer record, we're going to create a medium-level incident, and we're still going to audit it. Now of course you may want to do something a bit more, maybe audit and notify, or send a notification to a manager. The third match, or a large amount of data, this is when we're going to produce a high-level incident, and this is when we're going to block it. Bear in mind, we've created fairly arbitrary actions for us to take here, but you could do almost anything you could think of. Encrypt, reroute, notify, create pop-ups, quite a few options. So moving on, the next part of the policy is who does it actually apply to? Typically this is going to be everyone, but of course it might just be a distinct business unit, might be an individual end user. Finally, we have the destination, very important part, because this is where are we actually looking for this data. Of course, email, web channels, those are very typical, very obvious for us to do, and of course integrated with our web and email solutions. Other ones that are a bit more general could be the mobile channel for their phones and tablets, printers, individual applications, what could be cut, copied and pasted across particular apps, very, very key there. Removable media, one big one that a lot of people want to cover, and quite a few different other options. So now we're with our user. They want to steal this customer data. So what they're going to do is put a copy of that file into an email and try and send it to their Gmail address. Quite a simple approach. However, of course, we know this is all being monitored. So what does that look like from an administrative point of view? And very similar to the view we saw earlier, but we can see our source misbehaving, the policy that's triggered against, which is customer data, the channel, network email, even the destination and everything that's going on. It's all about actionable intelligence. So it's all about making sure that when these incidents happen, you have enough information to deal with that. Going into the actual forensics, we can choose to look at a copy of the data that's being stolen. So you really do get a lot of visibility, if needed, into exactly what's going on. So, attempt 2, what's the user going to try next? Obviously sending out the file didn't work, but it could just be that the organization blocks CSVs from being emailed out. So let's copy and paste the data, put it into an email. It's still the same data itself, however the format in this case is different. Coming back to the administrative view, we can see we're still able to pick this up with no problems, no real surprises there. Still seeing the same policy breach, same channel, same destination. In our forensics, however, it's not the file that we have visible there, it's the actual text from the email that is visible. Now, we could mark that, but we've chosen not to for this. Looking at properties, another different way of looking at this, because this tells us some more specifics about that user and what they're doing, and what IP did they connect from and to, what country was it going to, who is their manager. Essentially anything you might need to know to have the full specifics. So, third time lucky, let's see what they're going to try and do this time. In this instance, what they're going to do is email it to themselves. And then what they'll be able to do is open up their Android tablet and open it on there, because of course that isn't secured down. There's plenty of ways they can do that. Of course, as you can tell, that message has been blocked. We are looking for things going across into this channel. It's important to note, by the way, that if they were on their normal Outlook, they'd still be able to view that email. It's just not available on those tablet and phone devices. From an incident view perspective, there's a different tab of reporting for this, because it's not about whether they accessed it, it's just was it there in the first place. This just gives you the ability to see what information could be being sent out that shouldn't be. So I suspect the user is probably getting a little bit impatient with all of this now. Email, of course, is absolutely not working, so let's try the web channel. We'll go on to one of the many online storage places that are out there and see if we can just post this data online. Now, we've chosen to use our endpoint to pick this up, but this could have just as easily been our proxy. Coming back to our admin view, probably a very familiar looking view to you all now, but we can see all of the same information as we would expect to see. A couple of things have changed. Our channel is now endpoint HTTP, and our destination is giving us pastebin.com. We've also chosen to mark the HTML in those forensics view. Right. Another type of web attack here, but what we're using is the Dropbox app. It's a very different approach. It's still over the web, but using an application a little bit different in how it would work. However, our endpoint kicks in again, and it's still able to analyze and view that traffic and give us all the information that we would expect to see in the incident level view. Again, a couple of changes. The channel is endpoint applications, the destination is Dropbox, and looking into our properties, important to see that the application name was Dropbox. And of course, if you were seeing lots of obscure applications listed in there, good opportunity for you to find them and block them and do something else. I think the user will be very, very desperate now, so this is the final attempt they're going to go through, and rather than use the data in any way, what they're doing is a screen print of it, because it's now no longer text, no longer readable, it's an image of that. If they paste that into an email and send that out, surely that's got to get out. What could we be doing? Optical character recognition. that is a very good way of us to be able to pick up that data. And as you can see, the information is still all there. It's network email channels, same destination, but that information is listed as an image file, but we can still see everything that is going through. So even someone converting something to a static image file, there's no way to get around this solution. So that was a very, very low-level view of these specific incidents. What we want to do now is go to more of a dashboard approach. So occasionally you're going to want to see things at a much, much higher level. What were the particular channels that were most commonly looked at? What policies are triggering the most? And I see quite often people will create low-level versions of policies just to then crank them up if they become particularly popular. As this is integrated with our web solution, we can tell you the actual web sense category that a URL was in if it was going through. And that's great because if you have numbers of obscure URLs that you don't know what they are, we're able to say, you've never heard of this site, however it is an online storage organization. But again, things like our top users, what levels of incidents they've been creating. Have we had lots of users creating high or low level incidents? Could be something to consider. Also things like the actual destinations. We do show you all of the particular information. If you see a single destination appear hundreds of times, it's a very good way for you to focus on what that is and whether it's important to you or not. And finally on this dashboard, we got our top incidents. What you will find is, in our instance here, fairly small amounts of data going out, but you will find in real deployments, sometimes you have mega breaches where huge amounts of data are taken or stolen or otherwise dealt with. To be able to highlight our top incidents and really show those, it's a very good way of you understanding exactly what is going on. Now this dashboard is customizable, so we've just shown you some examples, and hopefully going through the policies and the incidents has given you an idea of how this all works and how this would generally fit together. So thank you very much.